You are 28, you sit in a dim room working 70 hours a week, drinking cheap coffee, perfecting a financial model that nobody will ever read. You make $1,200 a month, and then you see him. A guy from your college cohort who barely passed accounting. He posts a picture on LinkedIn from the back of a black car wearing a $15,000 watch. He just signed a $200,000 consulting contract with a firm that wouldn't even open your cold email. You call him a fraud, you tell yourself that real skill is silent. And while you comfort yourself with your moral superiority, he deposits another $50,000 deposit into his account. What nobody warned you about when you entered the business world is that buyers don't buy excellence, they buy safety. And nothing screams safety louder than someone who looks like they don't need your money to pay rent on Monday. He didn't win because he was smarter. He won because he broadcasted a 0% desperation signal. Level 2, the experiment. Two men walk into the same glass boardroom holding the exact same 40-page proposal, pitching the exact same $100,000 contract. Guy A walks in humble, worn sneakers, a low-key shirt, a warm, eager smile. He slides his proposal across the mahogany table and says, "We are a small, hungry team. Please give us a chance. We will work 80 hours a week for you." The board stares at him, and what do they smell? Financial risk. They wonder if his payroll is failing. They fear he's desperate. They slash his offer by 50%, delay the decision for 3 months, and eventually hire someone else. His honesty bought him sympathy, and sympathy in business pays $0. Now enters Guy B. A sharp, tailored silhouette, a $15,000 Rolex, and zero eagerness. He flips 3 slides, sits back, and says with cold indifference, "We only take 1 new enterprise client this quarter. Here is the fee, no discounts." What happens? The board signs the $100,000 wire before he even finishes his coffee. Same skills, same proposal, a 20x payout gap. Guy A begged for pity. Guy B leveraged looking rich to project absolute power. Sympathy gets you exploited. Looking rich collects the check. Level 3, perception arbitrage. What nobody warns you about when you enter a $100,000 room is that the buyer is 100% blind to your actual talent. They cannot read your code, they cannot evaluate your architecture, they don't know if your methodology is brilliant or stolen, so their brain shortcuts, they look for proxies. A high-end office, a flawless deck, a custom suit, an aura of expensive calm. These are not superficial vanity, they are visual proxies for competence. This is the multi-billion-dollar machine called perception arbitrage. Top consulting firms and elite agencies charge $500 an hour for work done by 22-year-old grads because they spend 30% of their revenue on the illusion of absolute authority. They are selling the most profitable product on earth, 6-second trust. While you spend 3 years trying to prove your worth through sweat, they spend 6 seconds buying trust through perception, compressing a 180-day sales process into a single handshake. Level 4, the moral trap. This is where the honest ones choke. You tell yourself, "I can't dress like a millionaire, I'm not rich yet." That's deception. You are confusing signal amplification with fraud. Fraud is when you have zero capacity, charge $100,000 and run away with the money. That is a crime. Signal amplification is when you have elite, high-grade skills, but you wrap them in a $10,000 packaging so the market pays you what you are actually worth. If you put a $50,000 diamond inside a soggy brown paper bag, nobody is going to pay $50,000 for it. They'll offer you $5 and ask if it comes with fries. Looking rich is not lying about what you can do. It's putting a loudspeaker in front of a voice that deserves to be heard. Unbind your morality from your price tag. Packaging your value isn't fraud, it's positioning. Level 5, reputational collateral. You think the enterprise buyer is terrified of spending too much money. You are wrong. An enterprise director spending a $100,000 corporate budget isn't spending his own money. He is terrified of one thing, getting fired if the project fails. When you walk in looking cheap, humble, and broke, you signal zero skin in the game. If you blow the deal, you walk away with nothing to lose. You have no brand, no reputational equity, no status. You are unsuable because you have no assets. To him, you are a walking hazard. Now look at what looking rich communicates. It tells his subconscious, I have an expensive status, a pristine reputation, and a high-tier brand to protect. I have far more to lose from a failed project than you do. Your tailored appearance and polished aura serve as implicit reputational collateral. He isn't paying for your time, he is buying insurance against his own career failure. Level 6, the ego shield. Every corporate decision maker carries a secret, paralyzing fear, looking stupid to his board, his boss, or his rivals. High-ticket sales are never purely rational, they are ego transactions. When a director hires a cheap, humble freelancer for $5,000 and the project hits a bump, his CEO screams at him, "Why did you hire this nobody from nowhere?" But when he pays you $50,000 because you looked, acted, and carried yourself like an elite authority, you become his ego shield. If things go sideways, he points at your brand and tells his board, "I hired the absolute best in the industry, look at them." By looking rich, you grant him status by association. You are no longer a vendor doing task work. You are a luxury asset that makes him look sophisticated, powerful, and smart for choosing you. You didn't just sell a service, you upgraded his social standing. Level 7, the inverted chase. Once you master the look, something quiet and dangerous happens to the room. The power dynamic completely flips. When you look broke, buyers assume you have zero clients and endless free time. They treat your schedule like a buffet. When you look rich, you signal that your time is already bought and paid for by people richer than them. You trigger the ultimate human instinct, the fear of missing out. You stop chasing. You stop sending 5 follow-up emails asking if they've reviewed the proposal. You look at them with calm detachment, flip your $15,000 watch and say, "I need your decision by Thursday. We have 2 other onboardings starting next week." Instead of you asking for their check, their brain panics about whether they are qualified to work with you. Looking rich turns you from a desperate bidder into an artificially scarce commodity. The less you need their money, the faster they fight to give it to you. Level 8, the final asset. You sit at the top of a business that no longer needs to pretend. You realize that looking rich was never about buying sports cars or flexing on social media. It was the entry ticket to a game that refuses to play with invisible players. It was the leverage that allowed a nobody with $90,000 in savings to sit across from a founder who spent 31 years building an enterprise, and close the deal while 4 out of 5 businesses die unsold on the market. Eventually, as your track record grows, the suit and the watch become secondary. The leverage transforms into something even more lethal, unshakable trust. You stop wearing the armor because you've become the institution. But never forget the first rung of the ladder. Never forget the cold math of the room you walked into when you had nothing but a name nobody recognized. Honesty without positioning costs you $50,000 every single time you open your mouth. Looking rich pays it up front, so you can buy the time to prove you were worth it all along. People don't pay the highest price to the most talented person in the room. They pay it to the person who commands trust the fastest.